for a bitch. It's hard for a bitch. For a bitch. It's hard. It's hard out here for a bitch. It's hard for a bitch. For a bitch. It's hard. It's hard out here. If you're not a size 6 and you're not good looking, well, you better be rich or be real good at cooking. You should probably lose some weight, 'cause we can't see your bones. You should probably fix your face or you'll end up on your own. Don't you want to have somebody who objectifies you? Have you thought about your butt? Who's gonna tear it in two? We've never had it so good. We're out of the woods. And if you can't detect the sarcasm, you've misunderstood. Sometimes it's hard to find the words to say. I'll go ahead and say them anyway. Forget your balls and grow a pair of tits. It's hard, it's hard, it's hard out here for a bitch. It's hard for a bitch. For a bitch, it's hard. It's hard out here for a bitch. It's hard for a bitch. For a bitch, it's hard. It's hard out here. A bitch, bitch, bitch. A bitch, a bitch, a bitch, bitch, bitch. 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 Inequality promises that it's here to stay. Always trust the injustice, 'cause it's not going away. Inequality promises that it's here to stay. Always trust the injustice, 'cause it's not going away. Sometimes it's hard to find the words to say. I'll go ahead and say them anyway. Forget your balls and grow a pair of tits. It's hard, it's hard, it's hard out here for a bitch. It's hard for a bitch. For a bitch, it's hard. It's hard out here for a bitch. It's hard for a bitch. For a bitch, it's hard. It's hard out here. Bitch, it's hard for a bitch. For a bitch, it's hard. It's hard out here for a bitch. It's hard for a bitch. For a bitch, it's hard. It's hard out here.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me tonight on the Off Limits Show. It is Sunday. What is it? Sunday, November 15th, 2015. Thanks for listening to the show with me here live. If you're listening live, if you're listening in the archives, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You can call in live if you want to call in to the show live by using Skype and calling Off Limits Show, or you can call in 214-377-0481, and you'll reach me that way as well. Let me make sure our Skype's on, actually. And feel free to call in live anytime during the show if you want to talk to me about whatever I'm talking about. You can find out more about me at offlimitshow.com. And also on Twitter at Off Limits Show and Facebook at Off Limits Show. So you can find me pretty much anywhere. So feel free to follow me wherever you want to follow me from. I appreciate you listening, wherever you're listening from. So today we're talking about what I entitled the show, It's Hard for a Bitch. And that song obviously is in reference to this particular show. And I love that song. It's by Lily Allen, by the way. Great song, great message. Of course, it's obviously very apropos for women more so than men, but I mean, it is it is something that that we gay men can certainly understand, I think. Specifically me, and that's what I'm talking about tonight. I'm talking about what it's like to be a bitch and what it's like to be perceived that way, and really to be misunderstood. And I've been my entire life a very well, I shouldn't say my entire life. I just should say once I came into myself, probably in my teen years, more so my late teen years than anything, mid to late teens, I guess. I've always been, since that point in my life, very outspoken, very direct. I don't like pretense. I don't like bullshit. And I hate people who are just fake and aren't being themselves and aren't being true with me. I take people at face value and until they give me reason not to. So I trust people and I try to be trustworthy myself. And but I'm also somewhat of a, I just am perceived to be somewhat of an asshole and a bitch by people because I'm very sure about what I want and I go after it. And If I were a heterosexual man instead of a homosexual man, people wouldn't think of me that way. But the thing about being gay is it's very similar to what women go through in this world. And women will often be perceived as bitches because they are strong and opinionated. Ones that are strong and opinionated and know what they want and who they are, and know how to get it, are often called bitches. And it's the same for gay men. Of course, gay men use that word anyway, just for fun, right? But when we're being serious about it, a lot of heterosexual men are threatened, I think, a lot of the times by gay men who are strong, like myself, who are strong and not wallflowers or people who will back down. Most heterosexual men, and it's not just heterosexual men, it's heterosexual men, heterosexual women, lesbians, other gay men, whatever, it's anyone. But if you are a gay man and you are confident and you're strong and you know what you want and you know who you are, and you don't like to waste time with people who don't know what the fuck they're doing, or you don't like to mince words, then you're called a bitch, or you're called a fucking asshole, or you're called, a jerk, or whatever the case may be. And that's what happens to me all the time. And the reason I think that is, as I said, is when it comes to heterosexual men, they're threatened by gay men who are strong because they often perceive themselves as heterosexual men to be somewhat of a higher rung or something. A lot of them do. A lot of them are misogynistic, and even though it's another man they're talking about, they perceive gay men as being less than they are because, that's how society has sort of ruled them or trained them to think. And so it's nothing uncommon, or it's not weird in terms of what is and isn't common in society, but it is a bad thing. And so when you have a gay man like myself, who is unapologetic, and an unapologetic bitch, by the way, who knows what he wants, who he is, and how to get what he needs from people without being cruel or being insensitive or being an asshole, but by being direct and understanding how people work and understanding what makes people tick. And what I mean by that is, when I work with a team of people, I'm not the kind of person who says, do it my way or don't do it at all about most things. About most things, I'm like, let's see where your strengths lie. And let's use those for whatever is we're trying to finish or complete here. And so I try to what's the word I'm looking for? Expose. It's not the word I'm looking for. See, I don't know. This has been happening to me a lot lately. Words just fly out of my head. Exploit. That's what I'm looking for. So I try to exploit a person's best qualities for the better good of everyone, so that we take the better qualities of someone. If someone's artistic, or someone is creative, or someone's really good with numbers, or someone's really logical, or good with marketing, or good with strategy, whatever. And I try to put those people in positions or places that will help everyone. And so everyone's happy that way because they are doing something they're good at and they enjoy. And I am as well. And that's how I work with people. And so I try to do that. But anyway, my point is that in just general life in general, or whatever, in dealing with people, I have been like, I don't want people telling me what to do, first of all. If someone tells me what to do or demands something of me, that's the wrong way to go about it. You need to do it with, you need to actually do it in a way that is more respectful, because that's how I am. I would never demand something of someone. Do it this way, or call me when I tell you to call me, or whatever. I would actually be certain to be respectful in asking someone, because I don't think that anyone owns anyone else or should demand something of someone else. So I've had that happen a lot to me in my life, where people are like, do it this way, whatever. And I'm like, bitch, I don't think so. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, or the way I think is best, not the way you tell me to do it, if it doesn't happen to coincide with how I think. And I'll take into consideration their way or their method, but I will not do it their way unless it is in line with what I think, or I think that their way isn't necessarily better. But if someone tells me just do something, that's just the wrong way to go about it. And so sometimes people think that that makes me a bitch or an asshole because I only do things on my own terms. And for me, it means I'm a well-evolved individual, someone who's got a good sense of ego, not an exacerbated ego, but an ego enough that I know who I am and I know what's best for me. And I only do what works for me and I don't waste time doing shit that I don't want to do in life. And I think everyone should live that way. If you don't want to do something because you hate it or you're not into it or whatever, why the fuck are you doing it, you know? Or if you think it's a better way of doing something, then do it that way. Don't do it the way someone else tells you to do it. Do it because you want to do it that way, not because you're told to do it that way if you don't think that's the best way to do it. So oftentimes, you know, I'm seen as uncooperative because I don't do things the way everyone else wants me to do it. Well, why should I do it? So when I don't do it the way everyone else wants me to do it, then I'm uncooperative or an asshole or a bitch or difficult. But when everyone else doesn't do do it the way I want them to do it, then they're just it doesn't work in the reverse for some reason. It's something about my personality. It's something about who I am. And I don't apologize for that. And it took me a long time, as I've said many times on my show, to build enough confidence in myself and to know who I was, you know, through my teen years and everything, to be comfortable with who I am and not to sacrifice or to compromise my integrity as a human being and my personality to make someone else happy. Or you could also say, I am not someone who would ever dim my light to let someone else's shine if it's not something I believe in. Now, I'm perfectly capable and happy to follow someone else and to do things their way if I find them inspirational, I find them to be someone who respects me equally and someone who has a better idea than I do. And I've done that many times in my life, and I have no problem doing that. And I have no problems when I'm following people or whatever in those instances. But whenever I get people to follow me, sometimes in some situations, some people have issues because they want to be the leader. And so I oftentimes think that is the reason that people think I'm difficult because, in my opinion, you can only have one chef in the kitchen, you know. You can only have one captain. You can't have a bunch of people wanting to do the same thing and control everything at the same time. Otherwise, you have chaos. And so you have to have one captain of the ship and everyone else needs to fall in line. That's how I see it, whether it's me falling in line or them falling in line behind me. And so I think I have a respect, for the way things work in society. And anyway, so lately I've been dealing a lot with people who hate me so much, who don't even know me. And what's funny about that is that, you know, I've been nothing but nice to people, and except when they've attacked me personally. If someone's personally attacking me, I will attack them back, of course, because I'm not the kind of person to be a wallflower, obviously. And so people think I'm an asshole or a bitch because I am somewhat of a, because I don't just sit on my ass and let people talk bad about me. I obviously am going to defend myself. But, you know, it's something I've contended with my entire life for a variety of reasons. And people just have always misunderstood me. They've misunderstood the fact that I am headstrong and I know what I want, know who I am, etc., for being difficult or a bitch or an asshole. And they're not the same thing. So I know I'm not the only person out there who has this issue. There are a lot of people. Most of the time, they're people who are in high-power positions, high-powered